when there's this fish that is going in search of the ocean. And he goes to another fish, a little bit older than him, and he says to him, I'm going to go look for the ocean. And he says, dude, look around. You're in the ocean. This is all the ocean. And he says, no, this is water. I'm looking for the ocean. And he swims off, sadly. That we have these traditions that we gather here in this time, and often we lose sight of the very fact of why we do these things, why we gather together in the midst of darkness, as the hours grow dark, as the light grows dark. I don't know about you, but I'm getting up and I'm going home in the dark. And that every day gets a little bit shorter. And why was it in this time that we take these traditions and we bring them into our homes and we hold on to them as we have for literally hundreds of years, and some of them even thousands of years. And so we're going to talk about today about just a few of those, but I want to talk about one which is just my favorite, which is the tradition of the Christmas tree. And why? I mean, think about this. The craziness of this thing that we drag this tree into our house and we set it up, and we did that, and we did this for hundreds of years, lighting it with candles. And they finally went to electric lights because the insurance companies sued the candle makers and said, no, you're burning down people's houses left and right. You have to go to electric lights on the trees. That we were lighting these with that it was so powerful and so important that we hold this ritual that people would risk their very homes to keep that light alive. And what was it about this ritual of taking this evergreen tree and bringing it into our home? And there are three places that it's supposed to come from, and they're quick stories. And the first is supposedly the famous guy is a guy by the name of Luther who started so much of the Protestant world. And he was out on a walk one day when the snow had hit the trees, and as the sun shone through that brilliantly, and they sparkled that way, he had this incredible vision of God. And he went home and he brought this tree into his house. I mean, and if he's one of the first guys to do this, you got to think, okay, he's really lost it. And he began to take the silver in his house, and he hung the silver on his trees. And for hundreds of years, the original tinsel, long before we ever had plastic tinsel, was actually made of silver. That it, as an image of this vision. And the second place that they think this may have come from was when a guy by the name of Cuthbert was out in the middle of nowhere trying to tell people about God and tell people about God's love. And he stumbled upon this moment of human sacrifice, as they did in Northern Europe. And that in that moment they had this boy who was tied to an oak tree, as the story goes. And they were about to sacrifice him. And Cuthbert was so angry that he went up and he cut the ropes that were holding the boy in place, and the boy stepped away, and from that gash in the side of an oak tree sprung a Christmas tree. As this miraculous symbol that from that Cuthbert went out and convinced those people that it was time to no longer sacrifice people. That life was more precious than anything else, and that life, as the green of the evergreen teaches us, endures all things. And the last great story is the story actually that I love the most. Is a story of a small boy that comes to a woodcutter's shed in the middle of the winter, and he's starving and he's freezing. And the woodcutter brings him into his home and feeds him and washes him and puts him in his own child's bed and sends the other one to sleep with his other children and keeps him in that hospitality for that night. And he awakes that night, in that morning, to discover that this child is actually the Christ child. That he has taken in and fed and offered love and offered care. And the Christ child walks out the door and takes the twig from the evergreen out front and snaps it off and hands it to him as a symbol of the love that he has extended to them in that night of cold. whatever story you like and whatever one you want to hold on to, or however you remember this holiday. Remember that it is ever that every tradition, every story that speaks to us of grabbing this green tree and dragging it into our house and adorning it with silver and beauty is our symbol that life always wins, that love always endures, that God's presence with us, no matter how dark it might get out here, no matter how dark it might get in here, that there is one who cares and loves us and will hold us, no matter what darkness or what woods we are lost in, or what sacrifice we may face. And so, friends, I hope you will hold on to your Christmas tree a little dearer this season.